Hello, guys, and welcome back to Spiritual Void. And today we have a beautiful Marie. I cannot pronounce her surname, but if you want to pronounce it, please do, Marie.
Yes, Marie McKeever. And
Awesome.
yeah, lovely to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And Marie is my landlady and my dear friend. We have lived together in London for a year and a half, almost a year and a half, I think. And I was literally divinely guided into her abode, a beautiful spiritual healing house. And we have really bonded strongly. And Marie is trying to get her online presence going. So I thought, why not begin with taking part in my podcast series? So welcome, Marie. So lovely to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Neringa. It's beautiful to be here. Yeah.
Thank you. So, guys, as you know, the way we start the Spiritual Boy podcast is that I read the description that I find online, and then we take it from there. And I will be asking Marie questions, the following questions of what spiritual void is for her, what it has been for her journey, and if she is comfortable with sharing what it has been for what spiritual void has been for her clients and is and how they handle it and so forth. Marie, just before I start, can you introduce yourself to what you actually do? Because Marie is multidimensional healer, but then she's also a therapist. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Neringa. It's lovely to be here, and how exciting, how everything is aligning. So I've been avoiding going online, so thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate that.
Yes, I was like, that's it, love. We going in.
So basically, I had a part of what we're going to talk about later, but I've had a winding road to this position, to this place in time. And so I am a therapist. I work with Alchemy, and I work with I kind of I look into people's souls, but really I'm working on their emotional body. And so I have some formal training, which I trained in coaching psychology about 10 or 12 years ago. And then I studied clinical hypnotherapy, and I fell in love with hypnotherapy when I did NLP. And I was lucky enough to do some training with Dolores Cannon, who was a wonderful, it's a wonderful experience and really brought everything together. And I used hypnotherapy to really then get into soul work and aligning with the higher self, and really getting to the bottom of some really deep questions about why are we here? What are we doing? What's my soul purpose? Why am I suffering? All of these things. So beautiful work. I read a lot of her books. I'm fascinated with consciousness. I'm fascinated with people. And so I was lucky enough to meet Neringa, and for us to stay in this, we lived in the same house, and she watched the end of my journey of becoming a psychotherapist, which took a very long time. But what it feels like a container for everything. So I can practice alchemy freely, and I can also balance all the different modalities I do and all the different energy modalities. I work with kind of spiritual surgery in a way. I work with the aura. I remove implants, energies, consciousnesses, and I work in a very relaxed, gentle way. And I'm guided, and I'm constantly learning. I'm developing my own method. It doesn't have a name yet, but it's developing, and it's a transformational piece. So I'm very excited. It's been a long, long road, and it's culminating in this kind of work. And so I'm lucky enough to live with somebody who we would talk about our experiences and how we experience things, and you know, it was it was very supportive and very loving. And so I'm really lucky. I'm really feeling like finally our tribes are gathering after being in the void for a really long time. So yeah, so I work as a therapist. I work in people can contact me online and in person, and I work sometimes for an hour or 2 hours or longer, depending on if we're doing a breakthrough session, and just really trying to get into the root of what is actually going on under the layers of what looks like all the things that happen in life. So
Awesome.
yeah, so that's kind of what I do.
Beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing. Okay, so guys, we're gonna dive into the description now. And today I have chosen to read out the medium.com description. So it says, the void is one of the 6 stages in the spiritual awakening journey. The sun is coming out, whoop, whoop, where nothing seems to happen. You don't see results. You don't get opportunities. Wishes and desires don't manifest. And God seems too far away to notice your despair. It feels as if you are all alone. You desperately want to start a new chapter and move on to the rest of the story, but the universe closes the door and won't allow you to flip the page. Every door and every window you try to escape through slams shut in your face. You feel lost and confused. What is going on? You cry. So dramatic. Yes, that's exactly how it is. You see, not always, but the void usually follows the dark night of the soul. And that order of things isn't without reason. When we come out of the dark night, we are shaking to the core. When we are stuck in a never-ending dark night of the soul, we feel distorted and beat down. A person who has just come out of the dark night has been through so much that it wears them out. Their soul has done so much healing and purging that they are tired. All activities come to a stop so you can rest. But just because the universe makes you and everything stop doesn't mean life is over. It doesn't mean nothing is happening. The universe's plan is always perfect. The void happens right after the dark night to provide rest of the tired soul. The purpose of the void is so you can rest, recharge, and get your energy back. This isn't the time to be doing so much. The void is a time to do very little. So much happens. Wow, beautiful. And my connection is unstable. Ooh, please, 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 universe, make it stable. Okay, Marie. So, upon hearing that, can you please share what spiritual void is for you and what it has been for your journey?
Oh, that's a really beautiful definition. I've not really heard it exactly like that. I've heard it similar before, but it really reminds me of places that we've all been. I definitely have been. And yeah, it's what I'm getting from the definition is a place of great potential. And, you know, we sometimes rush ahead to want to act and to rush into the next thing that we're supposed to be doing and be on our purpose. But actually, sometimes not actually doing anything is actually the best thing to do. It's counterintuitive, and I have to admit that I've often resisted that very pull.
Oh my God, I remember when I had to tell you, darling, rest is necessary.
I know, and thank you for that. Thank God for that as well. So yeah, it's very misunderstood, I think, in our Western society. We don't really understand what the void is. So, and it is mysterious. It means many things, and also it's slightly different for everyone. And everyone's goes through slightly different stages of or the way they experience it. I think that we're in a society where we are kind of compelled to do rather than be, and So it's a calling. It's a calling us to back to the quiet, back to the stillness, back to that deep part of us that maybe never sees the light of day. So we have to go kind of diving in. So in a way, it's asking us to go inside and to work through and process something, and not spend all our energy on the external. And and there's a lot of there can be a lot of inattention trying to balance what we need to do in the world and how we need to be, and the tension and the balance of wanting to go in and actually be still enough. And I know I'm guilty of this. Be still enough to hear the inspiration, to hear the guidance, to hear the deep knowing, and not just what we're expected to do or whatever. So I think that there's a little bit of pressure maybe to not go inward. But there's a really interesting when I was studying psychotherapy, we studied alchemy, and there were a few stages of alchemy, and there's many different ways to talk about it, but there was one stage, and this really feels like it's relevant, and that is, they call it nigredo, which is blackness or darkness. And in the nigredo stage, this is where all your troubles come. This is where all the juicy issues of life just get stirred in the pot, and they get stirred and stirred and stirred, and actually you think it's never going to end. And it's very dark. It is like the dark night of the soul, and in fact that can overlap. So nigredo stage, and everything's bubbling in the cauldron, and things have to come up for us to see, like our deepest fears, some of the themes we're working on in a lifetime, some of the patterns we've been holding. We won't be able to let them go or shift them or break them if we can't. They're so deep that they have to come up, they have to rise up. So in this nigredo stage, where everything's kind of turning over and like tilling the soil, it's almost like you have to go right down deep and to bring it out into the light. And so it's the darkness before the light, and we know we've heard that before, but to actually experience it, we think, when is the light ever going to come? When I'm in the dark here, when is it going to come? So it is a really powerful, very very important and stage, and we can't miss it out, because if we don't go through it, we don't get these revelations later. We don't get into the juiciness of it all. So eventually with the nigredo stage comes a lightness eventually, and things coming up, and a different stage of illumination. And there are other stages in alchemy, but the nigredo stage really, I feel, is where sometimes we spend that time before the answers come, before we know where the next step is. And it can be similar to the void. And I feel like you were asking about what does it mean to me? So I think the void is a place of great potential. A really great potential. That. Yeah. Actually, can I tell you a little story? I had before I studied Dolores's beautiful QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis therapy, I did some future life progression, which was about going forward and backwards in time using hypnotherapy. It was very interesting. And I actually had a session with somebody as we were training, and I discovered myself in the void. I discovered myself in like the blackness. So I was like, what is this? But it was teeming with life, and it was like galactic. It was like out of space. It was like before the stars were born. There was this time of creation, and I was aware. And interestingly, I was part of a group consciousness as well. So that was another revelation. So in this blackness, in this void, before the light gets formed, there was this like space, this blackness, this fertile space before anything gets made. And what was really interesting, which blew my mind at the time, was that great potential was very feminine. And we now understand it. The great void was the feminine. And actually I'd understood at that point of the feminine is about giving birth and And that is true. But this was the moment before any action takes place. And actually action seemed to be masculine. So really at that time, it changed my whole worldview of how I saw everything. And I'll never forget experiencing consciousness as being not just an individual, but being a group and being in that fertile space. And I'd never experienced that before. It was quite a revelation. So I've always held that as so rather than being, you know, scary or worrying or anything like that, it was just so full of life and so full of potential. It was like the moment before galaxies are born. That's the true void. And that's what the spiritual sages have been trying to explain to us, which is difficult if you don't have an experience. And, you know, some people, there's a beautiful passage from Anita Moorjani, who describes Dying to Be Me. She wrote the book, and in it, she describes the time as she was, I think, passing over into, she died, and she was kind of like, before she came back, and she describes going into the void or going into beyond what we have. And it was absolutely fascinating and very comforting. So there's a lot of examples recently and also set out in the old books and the deep wisdom about people who experienced the void, and just what they bring so much. I remember when I was reading that passage, it brought so much comfort and so much understanding that there's so much more that we don't really even know. It's so mysterious, even trying to put it into words. So I guess without realizing it, I've kind of been learning about the void here and there, and having to live through the void. So that was the next thing. I used to be in education and training as a teacher, and I spent many years doing that, and I loved it. But I always felt this call to work with people on a deeper level, and it was hard to maybe articulate, but I was on my journey searching, and I qualified in coaching psychology and NLP and all sorts of coaching qualifications and some different energy modalities. And then I kind of hit my own void, where I was a bit like, oh, so what happens next? Because there was no road to travel. It was being made as I was going forward. So I really didn't know what to do. So I had a void of just space in life where I was trying different things, wasn't really working out. And I hadn't quite understood that it was a really massive time of transition. So that's the next thing I want to talk about, is the void as a place or a period of time where we just go through massive transition and transformation. So transition is one way of saying it, but transformation is another. And I was at the beginning or just starting off a huge period of transformation, but I just couldn't see or know at the time what that was and how it looked. And I was incredibly impatient and worried that,
aren't we all?
yeah, I was like, what's not happening yet? I couldn't understand why I wasn't breaking into certain roads that have gone before me, like into the maybe more corporate world of the coaching. I hadn't understood why I wasn't doing something really clear and named, like I am this and this is what I do. It was a much more bringing together of different modalities, learning, and things evolving. So I was like a moving target, and I didn't understand why I couldn't stop and just stay somewhere. I was like, I'm ready now, and then it would move again. So having experienced that, I actually get to see that a lot when I work with clients, that they too enter periods of transformation and transition that don't entirely make sense, but when you look back, they make great deal of sense. But when you're in it going forward, it's you don't understand sense, but when you look back, you realize you had to undergo all these experiences.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So I don't know, does that make sense so far?
It does make sense. It's beautiful. It's it.
Connected?
I think we are losing connection. 1 second. Okay, we are back. I think this video will give me some work to do in regards to editing. Okay, so yes, thank you so much for sharing that. It's really interesting how you said it's a transition and then transformation at the same time. And I think what if you don't mind me sharing also, I feel like maybe there was a time in your life where you purged a lot. Remember when you said you were crying every day?
Oh yes, actually it was around that time. Yes, that's
Could
correct.
you speak a little bit more about that and how that was for you, and whether that was the void or whether that was a dark night of the soul? Because from the video,
yes,
from the other videos, people can sense and hear actually that sometimes it's like you mentioned it today as well. It's such a thin line between dark night of the soul and the void.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. Sorry, it was a little pause.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that just I'm going to repeat it. Is that from previous videos, people can hear that the void and dark night of the soul is quite similar. So I would like you to use that example of your journey and to feel in what that was for you, because you said you wasn't really unhappy. You just had a lot of tears to shed, right? So please.
Yeah, there was a period of what I would say now is decongesting, where, you know, when you're full up with life and you're full up with all the past and everything that's happened and all the traumas and the wounds. And I think there were tears to cry. Sometimes in psychotherapy, we call them uncried or stuffed tears, uncried tears. And I think that it's a very important part of the body cleansing. And I do remember having done all my qualifications, and then I was like, now what? And then during that year, I remember I cried a lot. But I was fine in the daytime, but get to evening, I'd be alone, and I might be ready to go to sleep, and it would well up. It would be like a welling up. And it wasn't that I was miserable particularly, but I just needed to cleanse. And I think I was cleansing years and years of emotions and expectations and heartbreaks and disappointments. And I was also being moved by spirit. That was the other thing. I think it was also a sign that spirit was moving. My heart was kind of opening. Although my heart was open, it was getting yanked open even more. And I remember saying to a friend of mine, we went to Glastonbury, and I'd had a kind of awakening there after which it was in the middle of the void. I'm not sure. It was, the void had already started, and I went to Glastonbury and I started doing some channeled writing, some inspired writing. It was from the most beautiful energy, from what I would call the divine feminine, and it would pour out onto the page. And I remember doing actually a hypnosis session with my friend, and we connecting with the higher self, with his higher self, and then the divine feminine would come through and it would speak to us. And I asked the question, what is this about? This because they were saying we were going to be broken open, and we didn't really understand what that meant. And they said, well, you have seals around the heart, and you need to be broken open, to break open, and this is part of your awakening. And I'd never heard this before. So and I think looking back, I can see now the tears was the cleansing and the breaking open of these seals. And it was direct from, I mean, it was through the deep can't say the word, some somnambulistic stage of deep hypnosis. So it definitely wasn't an idea that had been around. It was like came through, and it was very profound at the time, and the feeling was like when you drop a pin in church, it's just so silent, it's so profound. So when the words are being spoken about, well, you know, you're being broken open, and this is you have to break your heart open. I didn't really fully understand, but as I lived through the next year or two, I started to get what that meant. And it's an expansion. It's you break open, and then you might feel feelings of loneliness and feelings of sadness and feelings of even despair, because there's more space, there's more room. And then, so you're not being all congested and kind of everything close together, you start to expand, and there's room for so much more. And then eventually, as these feelings leave, as you kind of clear out some deep sadnesses and different traumas and wounds and start healing, there's more space, there's more love, there's more calm, there's more optimism, and the light starts coming in, which you don't think is going to be there in the months before. And then it starts to get lighter and lighter. And I definitely feel like there was a period of time when that was the dark night of the soul, because it felt like a loss and a new beginning. And it was all very kind of, it was a bit murky and a bit not sure what's going on. And I still, even to this day, it's been about 10 to 12 years. It was 10 years ago since that event. And I'd started my journey maybe 2 or 3 years before that, and I'm still on it. So you're talking 12, 13 years.
The journey never ends.
It never ends. And of this particular part. And I still feel like the dark night of the soul, I feel like I've had 2 or 3 episodes of the dark night of the soul in the longer journey, and they were deeper each time, and they were very necessary. And I was thinking, but I've done my dark night of the soul, so why am I having another one? It's like, what? But actually it was doing something else. There's another transformation and transition. It was deepening. So I've had a few of those Negredo moments where everything's getting stirred and all the stuff's coming up. And so I'm still wondering, I don't think it was all the dark night of the soul, but I think there were definitely at least 2 or 3 times where it was a dark night of the soul. But I think this whole space of transition, feels like there's a lot of voids in there. So they kind of overlap, but they're not the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's how far I've got with understanding that. So I mean, what do you think? What do you make of it?
So I think, like, in my understanding and talking to other people, I feel like at the moment I'm in this stage of understanding the void is like it's like a culmination. So every time we go through something really like an experience, you know, traumatic or whatever. I mean,
yeah,
is traumatic. Come on, we all sensitive beings, right? And then as we kind of work through it, then we are being gifted this gift of, okay, this is your time now to integrate, right? So I really feel like every stage, every lesson, every journey has that moment where we just have to get still and really integrate it and really feel into what has transpired, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I think the integration piece is the piece that we're not super good at sometimes. And I think the dark night of the soul, the void, the stillness, is if we don't do it for ourselves, if we don't take stock, slow down, it's done for us. It's like, no, you are going to sit still right now and you're going to go through this experience. So
whether it's an illness or you break a limb or the carpet underneath your feet just gets pulled financially or something like that, right? Like all of that.
Yeah, I think as well, it's in a way, it's to try and help us to let go of our fear as well. But of course, we will feel maximum fear sometimes when we're in it, and then as we work through it, it takes another little layer of fear out.
That is a surrender, right? So
It's-
it's like at
Yeah.
first we're gonna be so afraid, because anything that is new is so fearful. It's so scary, right? So yeah, at first we would be scared, and then eventually, like, we realize that actually we can't change this. So it's better to just, you know, to just
We have to surrender.
go through.
I remember one time I had some financial situation, lying down in the grass, not knowing what to do. And I'm not very good at surrendering, but I was like, I surrender. And my ego didn't like it. My ego was like, I don't surrender. But I was like, no, I surrender. Surrender. And I just basically surrendered to the divine feminine. And I was like, I don't know how or what, but you're going to have to help me out. And would you believe it? I got a phone call within the hour. A member of my family were going to help me out. And I was like, I hadn't asked them. They didn't know. They would literally got the inspiration. They called me, and I saw in real time what it was like to surrender. So I was like, wow. So it's very powerful. And our ego doesn't like it. And that's what the void is also about, getting us to that point where we surrender. Yeah.
Wow. It's beautiful how everything always works, right? As soon as we surrender, as soon as we take off our armor, our our burdens. I recently had a similar situation. For 4 years, I have been dealing with this wound of mine. I mean, it's Stephen's death, right? And I have healed so much, and Marie has been a really pivotal player in my healing also, holding space so beautifully and letting me cry sometimes for 2 weeks in a row, and being absolutely just in the pits of pain. And then, there was a situation when I met someone new, and some stuff happened. And I really just went deeply into my past pain and how it triggered all of these feelings. And I realized right in that pain that I was going through, that all of this is my past trauma response. And I was like, I'm just fed up. Like, I want this done. I'm done suffering in this one trauma, which is like abandonment, not being chosen, rejection, And I was like, fuck this shit. I am done. And the next day I had a session with this beautiful girl here in Puerto Escondido, and it's called I can never remember, repatterning something. Repatterning. Actually, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna find her because she's so awesome, and I would love to mention her. So it's called resonance repatterning. And I kind of had a feeling that the situation with this new guy came through, so I would really see this pattern of mine, this trauma response of mine. And when I was laying there on her couch, I was like, yeah, this is gonna come through. And she said, and the body was just saying it. My nervous system was just like, yep, this is it, blah blah blah. It's time to let go fully. And I was like, finally, like, I know that after all these years, 4 years of deep healing, that today is the day when I'm totally gonna let go. And I let go of it. And I let go. And I felt so light. And the next day, I manifested this experience. like this opportunity, which I can't speak on yet, but I think I told you, but I can't say to everyone else. And I was like, whoa, like so huge. And because if I wouldn't have done it, and I wouldn't have gone through that surrender, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have gotten I wouldn't have had space in me
Mm.
to allow this opportunity to come in. And it's all about divine feminine through the divine masculine. I was like, wow, like, look at this, you know? And I knew it. As soon as I let go of Stephen's stuff, as soon as I let go of this pain, opportunities will start coming in, because there is space now, you know? I am worthy. I am worthy. That for me, that was that. Like, I am worthy, you know? And when I think when you surrender, you also tell yourself that, you know, I trust because I'm worthy.
I totally resonate with that. And I think that we think we trust and then we really trust. So it's like, and you know,
there is layers to trust, right? Like with everything, there is layers to trust.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm still learning that too. I'm learning to trust the universe. I'm learning to trust what's for me, what's not for me, what's coming my way. And you do need that space to allow things to come in. And we don't even realize unconsciously we push things away sometimes, don't realize. So yeah, and sometimes we get stopped in our tracks and made to, you know, listen and to let go, and then it can come in, because all the traumas, all the wounds, all the anger, all the sadness, they're like buffers. They things bounce off. So we really have to open up and let things in, and then things come for us. They come to us. Yeah, so that's beautiful though, Neringa. That's so beautiful, and yeah, exciting as well. Yeah.
It is. And I think what I'm hearing from this, what we both said, is that that surrender it is the void, right? It is making the space. It's like, because by integrating, like the way, like I'm seeing an image, it's like while just before you integrate, the things are kind of like static. And it's like it's all there, it's here. So it's not a chaos per se, but it's like, I will use this as a prop. You know, so it's like this. There is a space, and these are our lessons and our everything that we have gone through. As we are surrendering, it gets pushed down. And it's like everything just like it's become, the surface becomes smooth. And then there is a space to invite these opportunities, love, like new loves, new friends, you know, new connections. Wow, this is so This is why I love doing this, because every person has their own perspective, and then so much comes up in regards to like philosophy, you know, because this is philosophy, really. Like it's an experience, it's a philosophy from our own experience, right? And as a Sagittarius, I love this because philosophy is so cool. Yes, so I have in particular one person who will be watching this, and as soon as it airs, I will be sending it to him, and he would be, I think, interested to hear a little bit more in depth how your clients handles the void, and what do you do to support your clients when they're going through the void, because some of your, well, majority of your clients, the psychotherapy clients, I mean, everyone is spiritual, right? But maybe the vocabulary is not.
Yeah.
Void, or like, oh my God, your chakras are misaligned, you know what I mean? Like you don't talk to them like that, right? So could you go into a bit more detail?
So sometimes you're right about the language, but actually my most unspiritual clients are in fact very spiritual and open. They don't even they wouldn't even use that word. So it kind of teaches me what not to have expectations. But I think first of all, something about grounding, which we kind of missed out, but I don't know, there's something important about sinking in to that part of you, and that part of you being connected. You're not just hanging around in, like, floating in space. Yes, there's a void, but there's something being asked to ground in you deeper, and you ground in deeper into the earth, into your higher self, and you become more aligned. And so when I'm working with clients, I'm often working on grounding them, because often the piece that's missing is they're not feeling tethered. They're feeling, not only are they going through all these changes and everything's happening, that they've got that they haven't got that sense of groundedness. So breathing, regulating the nervous system, all of these things. And that might not sound spiritual, but actually what often happens is there'll be a crisis. A client will come, there's a crisis. We find out what's going on. And somewhere along the line, there'll be a resistance to something. It'll either be a resistance to what's happening, or it'll be a reaction to the past, what happened, or it'll be like a fear of, like, I don't want to do that, you know. And so then what we do is we just, it's a process of, first of all, acknowledging, are they in the void at all in the first place? Like, because things could be happening, they don't even know what that word is, they don't even know how to make sense of it. So you help make sense of it by explaining, well, actually, feel like you're going through a transition, feel like this might be a dark night of the soul, what, you know, getting them to share what they're experiencing, and how that is, that right, what does that feel like? So acknowledging, this is the really powerful, so simple but most powerful thing, is acknowledging what is. Like, it is this is this, and this is this, and here we are. And then that works on the resistance, and going, because when you acknowledge what is, it just is, this is what's happening. Oh, that's a pattern. Oh, that's the old wound. Oh, that's my reaction, I got triggered. Oh, that was, you know, and just accepting, there is like a surrender. It's kind of like you just kind of allow, okay, it is. And as soon as you do that, as soon as there's an acknowledgement of the pain, like, you know, there's a terrible pain going on either in the body or emotionally, and as soon as you acknowledge the pain, what is, it starts to actually transform it, starts to change it. So acknowledgement is the first step always. And so it's like trying to get your bearings in this void, and then you go, oh no, it is a void actually. Oh, and then there's this pain. Okay, what is it? And accepting what is, suddenly it's a tiny bit more bearable, and you kind of just work on, well, what needs to be different? Is there something going on that now is asking to be changed? Is this why there's this period of chaos, transformation, pain? And often the answer is already there, and it was already there before, but it just got covered over with all this stuff. So you clear away as much as you can, and you have a look at it, and just by acknowledging what is and surrendering to what is, comes through, well, actually, I want more of this, and I want to do less of that, and I want to release this pain. I actually want to release this anger because it keeps getting in the way. I want to release the sadness. I recognize it and release it. So by talking about it, so the way I do the work is, when I'm working with clients, I work with words a lot. And I find that that's partly frequency, because of the frequency of the tone of voice, the frequency of the concepts that you're using, the frequency of even toning. Sometimes I'm toning. But just talking about things, your creation, you know, it's creating. So yeah.
Sorry, I got distracted by a hummingbird.
Oh wow.
Oh my God, it's like little orange. Oh my God, it's so special. Oh, darling.
It's a sign of what is.
It's a sign. It is.
It's a sign.
Wow. This
Yeah.
hummingbird has been coming to me for a few days now,
Wow.
I never thought it would come back. Sorry to interrupt you, but I mean,
No, I mean, that's a sign. If I ever saw a sign of what is, that's one of them. So, yeah.
orange to match us.
Yay.
Yeah, so beautiful, darling.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the work that you do, and also you incorporate your entirety now, isn't it? It's not just one thing that you.
Yeah. So I do lots of different things: QHHT, psychotherapy, hypnosis, lots of shamanic work and different things guided. I have been guided to do. I do. It's kind of like psychic surgery. I work on the light body, so I work on the emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, and etheric, all the different levels. And so my job in a way has been to start amalgamating them all. So when I'm working with someone, I never quite know which aspect I'm going to be working on, but different things come in. So now I'm working on the aspects of light body, even when I'm working with psychotherapy, because you, by talking about things, and sometimes we do we do meditation, relaxation techniques, grounding in, and you let go of stuff, you let go of things. So, and sometimes I work very specifically removing implants and energies and consciousnesses and different things that have a lot of negative connotations, but they can be removed, because once a person realizes they no longer need the pattern, no longer need the pain, we can remove the energies that they're trying to attach. So we are, it's a very interesting life. We are swimming in an ocean of consciousness, and we have all sorts of things that we encounter inside us and outside us and all around. So part of my work is to kind of like look at what's there, remove any burdens. This is what my soul work is, to remove any burdens that are ready to go, and just to find them. So we're talking to people, we're talking and airing what's going on. It will bring up, and then it's much more easy to see in their field what the burdens are, what the wounds are, what the attachments are, what's long gone, what old contracts and agreements that we made, we didn't even know we made, and get, clear those, because they're no longer, and so to lighten the whole field and to let people be. And the whole point is for people just to be who they are. That's all they need to be. They don't need to be anyone else, just be who they're meant to be. So, yeah, so just allowing people to be who they are, because we're always, there's the danger of wanting to fix ourselves and wanting to be, changed, a bit changed. But actually, the whole point is to bring through who you already are. Like, you already are these things. Just like let go of the old ideas, let go of the old wounds, let go of the old contracts, let go of the old implants, whatever they are, and just energies hanging around, and our attachments to these things. And then once we clear that, they leave, and you feel lighter, you feel more like yourself. So it's like a process of becoming. We are becoming who we are. We're already, it is us, and we're just allowing it to kind of emerge out. So, and that's why we need the void, because if we're full of activity, and it's like you have to birth yourself, you're birthing this experience of life, is birthing more of who we are. And sometimes you need space, sometimes you need time, and allow all of you to come out, that's not squashed in one part or another, to allow that to come out and to breathe. That's the way I understand it. And so when I work with people, I'm often being guided to the places where things get squashed, and I'm like, oh, what's going on in there? Let's bring that up. So
Beautiful.
yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, so I think we have covered quite a lot, and I really like how we summarizing that, the word is like surrender and making space, right? So I think we can leave the listeners and the watchers with that, that it's not the scary beast. Because it's interesting, like some people have said that spiritual void is like a cosmic womb. They said that it's this place that you want to be in, right? So it's very interesting how people sees that as a, some people sees it as the end goal. They want to be there. Other people sees it as, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a transitional phase, the surrender, the allowing, right? And then other people sees it as, let me get to this blissful space of void, right? And I think, yeah, go on.
No, I was going to say it kind of makes sense why people would say it's a cosmic mother, it's the cosmic void, because you do kind of birth yourself, and you do kind of birth yourself out of a void. It's really interesting because it's not yet fully realized yet, and yeah, so it kind of makes sense. And yeah, and I think it never ends. I think that's the thing. You emerge out of one space into another, and then before you know it, you're emerging out of that space into another. So it's the emerging. I feel like that's what the void is. It's the space from which we come through, we emerge into. Yeah. Oh, look at us, Neringa, being so profound.
Well, darling, I'm so happy that we were able to have this chat, and it was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for describing the process that you use to work with your clients. I think it's going to be very helpful because I have met quite a few people that have been looking for someone to work with in London. And you know, maybe this is actually gonna be your time to really go out there, and I really hope
to come out of my shell now and
you
emerge.
have to come out of your void into the world and be seen for the truly magnificent being that you are. And I'm putting this intention into this video. Please Google Marie's name. She should come up on Google.
My email is very easy. It's marieheartenergy@hotmail.com. So there you go. And I will be doing a bridge to transformation work, but it's not fully, it's still emerging, so it's still coming out. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, so you can find Marie there, where she said the email, and I'm super grateful, super happy. And thank you so
it's
much.
Beautiful, Neringa. Thank you so much. It's been lovely talking to you. I could talk to you all day, as you know. We have.
Oh, we have had many days where we did nothing but just heal by talking.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you for this. It was really lovely to connect. And I know you're in the other side of the world, but it doesn't feel that far away sometimes. I feel very close, you know, now that we're chatting. It's so lovely. And I hope to do this again, or, you know, just, you know, connect again. And yeah, and keeping up with all the good things that you're doing as well, all the beautiful things. I know you did a really beautiful womb healing recently, groups. That's amazing.
Well, there is one
today. Are you doing another one?
Tomorrow, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to hear all about that. Sounds amazing. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you, darling.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
All right.
Let's wrap up.
Well, lots of love to you. All right. Take care. Bye.
Thank you guys. 1 second. Thank you guys for listening. So this is the 4th episode with Marie
McKeever.
And I hope that you have found some useful information, that it has brought you some clarity, because this is the intention of mine. So these podcasts bring you clarity in your healing. And please share this around with people that could benefit, and also subscribe, like, comment, and all of that good stuff. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.